So I thought I'd do a series of videos explaining what goes on behind the songs that you all listen to. The first song that I'm going to be doing is the Carnatic version of the Barbie Girl song. Now the first thing I work on is the melody. So I want the melody to sound as Indian as possible. So if I were to play the original song as it was, it goes something like this. I'm going to play it on the Nadaswaram tone. What I generally do is I add a touch of Carnatic music to this by adding ornamentations and gamakas between the notes. So it goes from something like this to something a lot more Indian. So that sounds a lot more authentic and Indian. So the first thing I recorded was obviously the first line, which is played on the Nadaswaram tone, which is what you just heard. And I tend to double the Nadaswaram whenever I record it. So it's basically, I record it twice in a slightly different way. So it sounds like two Nadaswarams playing together. All of these instruments that you're hearing was played on an iPad and recorded on an app which is called GeoShred. I have a violin, 2 layers of the guitar, electric guitar tone, which I have created on GeoShred. And then I also have 2 layers of the Veena. So this is the first layer, which is playing the lower octave. And then I add the higher octave to it as well. So I try and ensure that a lot of different instruments come in between the song and they have lines that react to one another. That's the melody part. I work on the melody layers first, and then I try and create an environment around it that sounds very Indian. So let's go first through the percussion section. I use a lot of loops in my production, especially if it's got to do with an authentic Indian sound. The main kind of backing percussion that I have here is actually the towel. I found a few towel loops on Splice, so I'm just going to play a portion of these loops. So this is one of the loops. And then this is another loop that I found. So what I do is I actually kind of chop up a combination of multiple loops. And this is another loop that I use. So I kind of chop up all of these loops. I kind of create a groove by chopping up different loops from the same library and putting it together. So at the end, it sounds something like this. So I always kind of layer my percussion so that it sounds a lot fuller. So the towel here has been layered with a kanjira and a loop of tabla and mridangam. So the kanjira is very subtle and the tabla mridangam loop sounds like this. And all of them together kind of make up the entire percussion ensemble. So if I were to play it, I have different things playing at different times in the song. This is basically to keep the listener engaged, and you have different grooves going on as well, so it doesn't sound monotonous. So for example, in this section, so it's like a combination of things. It's like a jugalbandi of sorts, where we have the mridangam and kanjira with a question and a ghatam sort of sound. It's called clay pot, but it's basically a ghatam. That is giving the answer. So these are all loops that I keep collecting and I keep using wherever I find appropriate. For the bridge, I have different section of instruments, which is a lot it's like a mridangam and towel, so it's very South Indian. And there's a morsing as well somewhere. And then at the end, I made it very poppy. So it starts off with a kick drum and a snare. It's very simple pop music. And to get that Indian element, I added mridangam, a dhol, and a dholak. So all together sounds something like this. And the closer it gets to the end, the layering goes a lot crazier. So there's also a towel towards the end. And I also add a lot of effects to my music. So there are a lot of transitional elements between parts. So if I were to play a section, for example, this section right here. So what you actually a lot of you might not realize is there's a whole build up happening right here. So that's what you hear. So without that build up, that transition won't really be effective. So that's basically to kind of highlight the transition between the bridge and the last chorus that's coming. Just the Indian elements and the percussion won't really cut it. Yeah, so basically this is just the Indian parts. I wanted to make it sound as close to the original as possible while still maintaining that Indianness of it. So I added some piano, bass, and chords that kind of simulate the original group of sounds. So there is a synthesizer, there's a piano. So these sounds are as close to the original song, but they're playing something else. They're playing something that kind of complements the groove given by the towel and the kanjira and the mridangam. So when you hear it all together, it kind of sounds complete, reminds you of the original song, yet very different. So I hope you enjoyed that video. If there's a song of mine that you would like me to explain in the series, make sure you comment down below which song you would like, and I'll do a video explaining what goes on behind the song.